Basic Logic has made another schizo strawman type of video. And one thing I noticed about his channel is that he keeps his videos very short because stupid people prefer short videos that, don't really provide much evidence. And, they prefer the short stuff instead of long, logical videos that actually point out facts and statistics. When you make a short video, it's easier to just, straw man and skip over details and whatnot. And then idiots will be like, oh my gosh, this guy's speaking the truth. That's why TikTok is so popular because, it usually fits to people who have a short attention span. But Basic Logic, he's defended genocide, the whole Congo Leopold thing. He's also defended the Crusades because, hey, it was a cultural thing, despite the fact that the Crusades are infamous for having, massive amounts of rapes and murder. But hey, according to people like Basic Logic, it's actually okay to have rape and murder as long as it's done in a different timeline. And in this video, we got a video called Why Did Millions Actually Support Nazism? Well, there's a lot of reasons why people support Nazism. Insecurity during World War II, the economy was bad. And when the economy is bad, people are usually going to listen to the most persuasive, loud-talking person. And, despite the fact that Hitler was popular, under his rule, millions of Germans died. It wasn't just Jews that perished in the, Holocaust during World War II. It was Germans as well and other European nations too because of this whole war situation. And yeah, I actually remember visiting Poland, and a lot of people actually don't like, Hitler's beliefs when I spoke to them. Anyway, this video is not the best edited, but I'm just gonna react to it because the nice thing about Basic Logic is like unlike a lot of other analysis videos, he actually does keep his very short. Even though, as a result of him making these short videos, they're very shitty and poorly researched. Because, like I said, when you make your videos short, you don't really got to worry about being factual or going into the details. So, why did millions actually support Nazism? I would actually respect Basic Logic more if he just openly said that, hey, yeah, I'm a racist. I don't trust minorities. I only like white people. Instead, he wants to, puss out about it. He wants to be a total pussy and not actually say it. Because if he actually said it, less people would support him. But to me, I'd be like, hey man, if you were openly, anti-white or anti-black or whatever, or anti-race, I would respect you more. See, for me, for example, right, I'm very open about my anti-transgender beliefs. Like, I don't think men can become women. I think that people who want to change their sex are very insecure. I got nothing to hide. But the thing is, with Basic Logic, he actually has to hide behind his beliefs with more fancy terminology because he's trying to make a living off of YouTube. This is another thing about Basic Logic is that he's a European. He thinks he knows about America. I mean, it's a miracle he can speak English because when I went to Europe, barely anyone could speak English, outside of London. But yeah, this is another thing about Basic Logic. He's a fresh off the boat European, thinks he knows about America and whatnot. He doesn't, not at all. Also, major Trump LARPer as well, which one of the worst presidents we ever had. Like that whole Iran war, completely pointless. Anyway, let's see Basic Logic try to defend Nazism. So I actually had to skip to the end of the video because Basic Logic doesn't really give a direct answer. What he does is that he uses a bunch of fancy terminology and, all these sorts of economic systems like nationalism and fascism and all that kind of stuff. He just uses all that to try and just, jump around, He's trying to basically sound intelligent to his dumbass audience. I would respect Basic Logic more if he, just flat out said he was racist or, he didn't like minorities. I would respect him more. Instead he tries to jump around it. He doesn't want to upset the big bad YouTube algorithm. That's why he doesn't just flat out say it. And I feel like people like that are total pussies. For me, for example, right? I'm okay with transgender people, having rights. However, I don't believe with their beliefs. For example, right? I don't think men can become biological women. I think that men who want to change their sex are very insecure. Same for women, vice versa. But I'm not going to hide my beliefs about that. I'm not just going to jump around it and use all these sorts of statistics and whatnot. No, I'm just going to be very front and forward with you. Basic logic, he's trying to do the whole YouTube living thing. He doesn't want to be front and forward. He just wants to jump around all these whataboutism types of beliefs, you know? Oh, but what about this? What about that? But anyway, I'm just skimming to the video because
It's not just a day.
the video is titled "Why Did Millions Actually Support Nazism?" And he doesn't really try to answer that until near the end of the video. And here's the funny thing about Nazism: under Hitler's rule, even if you didn't like the Jews, millions of Germans still died. You know, under Hitler's rule, it was very strict. You literally had to say "Hell Hitler," or you could be sent off to the concentration camps and inevitably die. Imagine having to go around saying hell Donald Trump. Like, thankfully, Trump isn't as bad as Hitler because over time, you know, especially in America, we're not going to take that. Anyway, let's see how Basic Logic tries to defend Nazism.
They were forced to be part of other nations' jurisdictions, while non Germans were granted power and influence in their country.
So in this part, he's talking about what happened to Europe after they lost the first war. I mean, not Europe, but Germany after they lost the First World War. And I'm like, yeah, that's a consequence of losing the war. You lost areas, you know, and your economy got messed up. Next time, be neutral if you don't want to take that risk.
The Austrian born Hitler himself was an illegal immigrant in Germany, and when confronted, he declared, "What matters more, my German blood or my passport?"
I don't really care what matters more when it comes to Hitler. He hit even if you don't like the Jews, even if you're one of those Jews bad types of people, Hitler still resulted in millions of other white people dying. You know, even people that followed Hitler ended up dying and getting executed. The Germans lost World War II badly, and it's really hilarious to me too how Hitler didn't really want beef with America because if America got involved, then Germany would definitely be fucked. They were already kind of fucked when trying to deal with the UK. But when America got involved, oh, mama, it was pretty much over. And that was because Hitler allied himself with Japan. Japan attacked America. And America's like, I'm in now. It's like that Robot Chicken sketch called Little Hitler. Another big problem with this video as well is that you know, Basic Logic censors himself. You know, at the start of the video, he's playing some random clip from some random person that I don't care about, and he censors the word rape. Just use the word rape. Stop being a total pussy. Use real words. You know, you're talking about Nazism. Why bother censoring yourself at this point?
The failure and self contradicting nature of civic nationalism is part of the reason for the rise of the Nazis.
Well, another reason why the Nazis rose was because Germany's economy was fucked. Hitler, you know, he was also pissed off too. Um, And you know, the thing is, when the economy is messed up, people are literally going to listen to the loudest, most charismatic person. And the thing, it's literally happened with Donald Trump. Trump made all these sorts of promises about how the economy is going to get better. That's literally the only reason why people voted for him because he made all these promises with the tariffs and stuff. Now other countries, you know, have lost trust with the USA. Understandable. Billions of dollars have been wasted in a bunch of useless shit like ballrooms and oh the Iran conflict. So yeah, you know, giving like Trump has literally given more money to other countries than his own American people. And you know that Buffalo guy at the Capitol riots, the most famous guy. He actually regrets voting for Trump now too because of the whole Epstein stuff. But yeah, a lot of people who voted for Trump are regretting it. Farmers are regretting it. They're getting fucked over. Things are more expensive now in America because, you know, the logic was that, oh, things are going to get better. I mean, good on Trump for getting rid of illegal immigrants, but even then, Obama did it better. And why is Basic Logic using ICE, an ICE officer in this clip? Like, let's go back.
My German blood or my passport?
Okay, first of all, why is Hitler interacting with an ICE agent? That's not really co-relevant whatsoever. But yeah, that's weird. Why is Basic Logic so obsessed with America? He's not an American. He's a fresh off the boat European. You know, like stick to your own country's problems. You don't know anything about my country whatsoever. My country literally occupies your country and is the only reason or one of the reasons why, you know, you guys are Ah, man, I don't want to go into details. I was in the military and I've been to some places in Europe. Great place to occupy.
The failure and self contradicting nature of civic nationalism is part of the reason for the rise of the Nazis. Today, people avoid popular nationalism. This
He's using the whole I drew myself as a Chad and you as a soy jack meme, which I do that too sometimes, but usually as a thumbnail. But yeah, basically, we got the communists over here being mad at Hitler for some reason. This is a very bad comparison, very bad faith argument. And, to be honest, it's really funny too because Russia beat the shit out of Germany, you know? Yeah, like, literally, it was the Russians that managed to get to Hitler before America did. Anyway, what are you talking about? What's this Russian guy doing here? You know? And another big problem with Hitler too is that he committed suicide, and I was like, man, what a pussy.
fight its logical stance because they don't want to agree with Hitler.
I agree with Hitler, so you want people to agree that killing millions of people is bad, uh, is good or whatever. Like, it's a pretty general consensus that nobody wants to have murder, and as a result, under Hitler's rule, a lot of people, literal millions, ended up dying. You know,
But we did not go on oxygen strikes just because a bad person also breathes. We can accept the self evidently true elements of an ideology.
Hitler wasn't just a bad person. His ideology literally led to millions of people dying. Like he's not bad. He's genuinely evil.
Without fully embracing it. But if we refuse to and continue in our delusions, we give ammunition to those who wish to hasten its return.
Yeah, that's nice and all, but Hitler literally got a bunch of white. Like, even if you're racist, even if you hate minorities and whatnot, Hitler's beliefs still led to a lot of white people dying, not just Jews, like white people. This is a retarded video. Basic Logic is a racist retard, and I guarantee you that people like him would not last long under Hitler's rule. You see, Hitler was a very paranoid person, so paranoid to the fact that he literally had more of his generals executed himself than the actual Allied forces did. So yeah, a lot of these pro-Nazi people, they're only pro-Nazi because they didn't grow up in the timeline when Hitler was super popular. I guarantee you these people wouldn't last one day under such a regime. A lot of people are already like, oh, well, we don't have enough free speech. But if you lived under Hitler's timeline, you 100% would not have free speech whatsoever.